Okay, good morning again. Buenos dias. We're back. Today, we're going to have session 2. We're going to continue with the final part of chocolate making. We're going to learn how to temper chocolate, which is essentially to get it into the right crystal phase so that it stays stable and shiny. And we're also going to look at some nut roasting because sometimes we like to add nuts or other inclusions to chocolate. So we're going to temper chocolate, and then we're going to make bars, and we're going to make plain bars, and we're going to make included bars. And so I've got a variety of inclusions that we can work with, and we'll use those to make some interesting combinations that go with chocolate. So remember yesterday where we left off, we have our half a kilo of chocolate in a plastic tub. I'm going to show you why I like these plastic tubs, is because they're flexible. And when the chocolate solidifies, it falls right out. Okay, so now I've got a block of chocolate. And the first thing we've got to do is melt it, all right? Now, don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we're going to talk about tempering and chocolate crystallization. But we need to heat chocolate to a specific temperature when we melt it to make sure that all of the crystals are melted. So I'm going to use what I call a bain-marie. And a bain-marie is simply a pan filled with water. And I've got it on a hot plate. You can use your stove. And I'm going to put the chocolate in a separate bowl, and then I'm going to put the chocolate in the water and then set the heat at around 125, 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 50 to 55 degrees Celsius, and we're going to let our chocolate melt. Now, dark chocolate melts at a higher temp, or you need to melt dark chocolate at a slightly higher temperature, so 50 degrees Celsius, 120 degrees Fahrenheit is a good temperature for dark chocolate. Milk chocolate, you can really heat to 110, 115, and we'll talk about that as well, but that's because the milk fat in the milk chocolate lowers the melting point. And that's something we have to take into consideration when we're working with milk chocolate. But, so our dark chocolate, we're gonna melt it. All right, the first thing I do, because this block will melt fairly slowly, all right, but if I break it up, of course, into some pieces, then they will melt faster, and we can get going with what we want to do a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to put these pieces of chocolate in a bowl. And I'm going to put that in the water, and my hot plate has like 5 settings. Actually, if I put it on what they call minimum, which is warm, and that's plenty hot to get done what we're doing. The other way to melt chocolate, but it takes a lot longer, all right, is to melt it in the oven. You can melt it, set the oven on warm. So I can use the same oven that we use for roasting beans, but I just put it on the warm setting and set the temperature at 120, and it'll melt, and that's fine. The only problem is that takes about an hour and a half, whereas the bain-marie takes about 30 minutes at the most. You can also melt chocolate in a microwave, and a lot of people do that. A lot of chefs do that, in fact. I don't like to use the microwave because if you're not careful, you can burn it. And I don't know, there's just something about the bain-marie that I like. I don't have to worry about doing any funky things to the chemistry or the combination of the chocolate. The oven is just as well. The microwave, you can use it, all right? So we're gonna let this melt. It's already started to melt. And we'll be back in about, well, for me, a half hour. For you, it's going to be instantaneous because that's the next session. But when this is melted, we'll start again.